We all know of this face. We all know of this man. Unless if you was living under a rock during this time, we all know the circumstances that took place that led to this photo to be viewed as one of the most iconic and cold-blooded moments in basketball history. But in my honest opinion, there's a deeper backstory behind this. So what led us to this moment? And why was it so impactful that it would alter the course of this legendary baller's career, his team that season, and more importantly, alter the dynamics of an entire franchise to go from a championship contending to a potential rebuild mode? Well, let's take a rewind to the 2018-2019 season. One of the best postseasons I ever witnessed with my own eyes. The season culminated seeing a whole nother country win an NBA title for the first time in basketball history. A couple of near scares and upsets, iconic Game 7 battles, and obviously game-winning clutch shots. But what makes it more memorable for myself is this series, this exact series right here. That year's Western Conference 3rd versus 6th seed. The Portland Trail Blazers entered the 2019 playoffs with a 53-29 record, good enough for 3rd in the conference. Led by their talented, ultra-skilled offensive backcourt of Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, and their offensive attack game plan by Terry Stotts, they would finish top 10 in offense at number 6 with 114.6 points a game. Dame would finish 6th in MVP voting with averages of 26 points and 7 assists while playing in 80 games. On the opposite side of the coin, we have the OKC Thunder, a team that finished 49-33, good enough for 6th best in the conference. Led by 2 of the top 10 best players in the world, 2 of the most supreme elite two-way stars to ever touch a basketball. One more known for his smooth, superb offensive repertoire, and the other known for his one-of-a-kind, ultra-athletic and aggressive style of play. And coached by Billy O'Donovan, the team will also finish with a top 10 offense at number 7 with 114.5 points per game. PG-13 will go on to have arguably the best season of his career up to that point, averaging 28 points, 8 boards, and 2 steals, finishing 3rd in MVP voting. Meanwhile, Westbrook did what he usually does at that time, averaging a triple-double for the 3rd consecutive time in a row with 23, 11, and 11. Both teams entered the postseason with something to prove and a need for a little redemption after suffering embarrassing season-ending series upsets to teams that they should have defeated in the previous postseason. The Trailblazers, who were also previous season's 3rd seed team, got demolished by the Anthony Davis-led New Orleans Pelicans, who respectfully swept them and sent them home empty-handed, as Dame had the worst series of his postseason career, averaging just 19 a game, shooting 35% from the field and 30% from 3, and basically being owned by Drew Holiday and Rajon Rondo. Meanwhile, Russ and PG will get absolutely disrespected by the Utah Jazz, whose best player was a rookie sensation by the name of Donovan Mitchell, as the team owned real estate in their heads, as for most of the series, both were taken out of their elements. At this point, I know what you're wondering. What does any of this have to do in connection to what I told you earlier? For that, we have to understand what took place in the regular season of that year, and the individual matchup between 2 of the best and most gifted athletic guards in the league, Dame versus Russ. This matchup was always a highly anticipated matchup, as again, these are 2 of the best in the league, who are both extremely talented with the same mentality when it comes to approaching the game, who just so happens to be competing in the same Wild Western Conference for bragging rights. The 2 teams faced each other 4 times that season, with OKC sweeping the season series, but all 4 games were close, as the games were single-digit margins of 9 points or less, and it would usually get chippy and intense. But in their second matchup of that season, January 22nd, 2019, will be the spark, the plug that will take this individual matchup and this mini rivalry to a whole different level. With the Thunder up 121-110 after a thunderous dunk by Russ, Dame draws a foul from 3 on Russ and proceeds to make his way to the free throw line. In the process of shooting his second, or I believe third free throw, Russ proceeds to tell Dame this.
It won't be an under the rim, Smitty.
Yes, Russ decided to say those exact words to Dame. But the thing is, was he lying? If we're talking about team record, yes he was. As prior to that game, when viewing the win-loss record between the two teams since the two been going against each other, the Blazers held a 1-game advantage over the Thunder, 11-10. But in terms of the duel between Russ and Dame, he has an extreme case, as he has the better stats with points, assists, and rebounds whenever the two have faced off against each other. But those exact words would ignite an intense battle, an intense duel, a miniature rivalry between the two stars and both teams, as they would have to face each other again twice in that season later. But when the postseason came around and the matchups were set, it was just like a match made in heaven out of nowhere. Two of the best guards in the league, all NBA talents. One paired with an underrated star, the other paired with a top 3 MVP candidate, and two equalized teams looking to battle it out. Or so I thought they were equal. I can't lie, I'm not innocent. Just because of the all-world talents of Russ and PG alone, I had OKC winning the series. The Blazers also entered the postseason missing a key piece to their roster, their third best player, and big man Yusuf Nurkic. Meanwhile, OKC had their interior presence with Steven Adams. So it should be a guaranteed series win. A close one, but they're going to be the victors, right? Well, let's just say I was sadly mistaken. As if past history has taught us anything with this game, is that just because you're more talented of a team, it doesn't mean you're the better team. And that just because you won the series in the regular season doesn't mean that's going to be the same thing when it comes to the point where it should matter the most, which is the postseason. When you look beyond the stars of both teams, the Blazers had a set game plan system with the right role players around them to have success, as they knew how to spread the ball and space the floor, as they had something that OKC didn't. They had shooters. And of course, the only game plan OKC had was to let Russ and PG carry the load the same way that they did during the regular season. And from the jump, Dame had Russ in the mercy chamber, constantly giving him the work from game 1 to game 5, outscoring him in 4 of the 5 games. As in the one game that he did not outscore Russ, they lost, which was game 3, in which he had a struggling first half with just 4 points. But once the third quarter started, he was unguardable, exploded for 25 points in the quarter alone. Which leads me to wonder if he was able to keep that high-scoring clip for majority of the game, would they be able to go up 3-0 in the series? But with Russ not showing up in game 4 like he did game 3 to win, they went up 3-1, heading back home, looking to unknowingly dismantle the OKC franchise as we know it for the Westbrook era. But it didn't seem that way to start off. Paul George, who has been the main bright spot for the Thunder throughout this series, was still playing at an MVP level. Russ was replicating what he did in Game 3, putting up a triple-double, along with Jeremy Grant and Dennis Schroeder hitting big-time shots for the OKC Thunder to come up big within this game. As within 4.5 minutes into the fourth quarter, the Blazers found themselves down by 15 points, and the hopes of ending the series was looking gloomy. But yet, they were not ready just to give in just yet to this team. Big-time shots down the stretch and clutch free throws by CJ, who, by the way, has been bright throughout this whole series, Mo Harkless, and Dame, who has been hot all night as he has had 34 points in the first half due to his team struggles in the beginning. The Blazers found themselves with the game tied 113-113. Then PG, who has also had the hot hand within this moment, hits a clutch mid-range shot over CJ to give OKC back the lead, 115-113, with 40 seconds left in the game. Timeout Blazers. Right out the timeout, Dame attacks the basket and over a bunch of Thunder jerseys was able to finish an acrobatic layup to tie up the game, 115-115. 32 seconds left. OKC has an opportunity as Russ brings down the ball. One-on-one with Al-Farouq Amino. He sizes him up, attacks, Euro steps, but with no control, he throws the ball up and misses. Amino grabs the ball off the board and passes it to Dame. Dame proceeds to bring the ball up the floor and pause. Here we are at the moment of truth. A moment that will unknowingly lay the foundation for this franchise to make its 5th conference finals appearance, a place they haven't been in for nearly 2 decades. A moment that will change the perception of this man's career, as prior to this moment, Dame was viewed as the most underrated player in the league. And I feel like this was the iconic moment that helped stake him as a top 75 player ever. And it's not like he's new to these pressure type of situations. He lives in these moments. He thrives in these moments. Just ask Pat Bev what happened 5 years prior to this moment exactly. Dame is the main reason to why the Portland Trailblazers are still a relevant franchise at that point. And he's the main reason why they are where they are at that moment in time. This is a moment that will forever alter a franchise who will more than likely have a documentary about their great potential, but yet their unfortunate setbacks and mishaps. But hey, at least they're set for the future, right? But more importantly, it's a moment where the dude from the mean streets of Oakland, California, who had to overcome every obstacle in the book just to make it to the league, make another California native eat his words for what he said on that fateful night of January 22nd. Mind you, he already has 47 points in the game and he's already been hot. Here is a cold-blooded moment in basketball history. Cue the tape.
A chance to send the Thunder